We've got a new report that came out on Uvalde. It has the more details after 2 or 3 years of lawsuits, including a freedom of information request. A lot of the local people wanted this too that were involved in this, whose kids were in it. So this just comes out today. And I want to share some highlights. This is from the Associated Press, who sometimes gets it right. In this case, I believe they did. There's two big cowards I want you to hear about in this story today because their stories need to be told. Number one, and they're short. Number one law enforcement officer is crouched behind the school building, sizing up an assault on the classroom from the outside. This is while it's happening. The officer says, "I just don't want to be crawling." And he's just looking down at me. Let me rephrase that. He says, "I don't want to be crawling." And he's just looking down at me. In other words, I don't want to go in there and go directly to the threat and shoot him as I've been trained, as every law enforcement in this country has been trained since Columbine, which is more than 2 decades ago. I don't wanna go or roughly that, yeah. I don't wanna go down because and go after the guy because I could be crawling around and he's just looking down at me. This is a coward, not a law enforcement officer. This is a coward who was terrified of doing his job, and in the course of doing his job, being shot and killed by the terrorist. You are the only thing stopping that terrorist between the children and the terrorist. You are a coward. You should not be in law enforcement. Period. That's disgusting, and it angers me, clearly. Second of all, the most cowardly of all and the most responsible of them all is former disgraced Uvalde ISD police chief Pete Arredondo. Arredondo was heard on the body camera asking the terrorist to put his weapon down. "These are innocent children. We don't want anyone else hurt. Please talk to me." But Satan, who's basically working through this guy right there, this guy's possessed by the devil as far as I'm concerned, doing Satan's work. But Satan gives no response. "Please, please. I'm trying to work with you here as you're killing children." You go in to the threat. You run at the threat, to the threat. You immediately engage the threat. There is no waiting, stalling, being outside. Second of all, Arredondo is heard telling officers crouched around him that he's telling them they want to clear these rooms before breaching the classroom where the terrorist is holed up. Quote, Arredondo said, "We don't know if these are kids, if there are, excuse me, we don't know if there are kids in there in these other classrooms. We're going to save the lives of the other ones. Yes, don't worry about the children being executed and the teachers being executed while we're on the other side of the door. Worry about the places where nobody is around it." Because he was a coward who was afraid to go in. He was a coward who froze. And remember this, the Uvalde chief, former chief, the disgraced Chief Arredondo, about 3 or 4 months before the terrorist shooting, was at a training seminar put together on school shooting and how to stop a school shooting or how to stop it while it's happening. You know, you can't necessarily stop it from happening sometimes. And he wrote up a plan. Again, this is 3 or 4 months or so before the terrorism attack from this terrorist in Uvalde shot the school up. And he drew up the plan. He was the incident commander. He is the incident commander of that scene. And he lies and says he wasn't. You, Chief Arredondo, were the commander, and you know it. But let me tell you this. I've said this for years since this happened. And if you haven't heard it, and if you only remember one thing in this podcast, then remember this. Chief Arredondo was born a coward. Chief Arredondo was a coward at 1, 5, 3 years of age, 10 years of age, 15, 20, 25, 30, and all the way to whatever age he is now. He has always been a coward. He took the job of the police chief because he wanted the laudits and the plaudits. He wanted his butt kissed. He wanted to be patted on the back, thanked for being a hero, knowing that one day he might be tested. And that if he did, he would fail because he's a coward. He's always been a coward. So he wanted the badge and the bragging rights and the prestige that comes with it, but he was never going to do anything that would take him outside of his cowardice comfort zone. He was always a coward. he should be stripped of his peace officer's license. He should never be allowed to be a peace officer, not even a security guard or anything of any kind. Period. He is heard as I mentioned what he was heard saying. Now here, we don't want it. He said we don't know if there are kids in there. Da da da. But then what comes next in this story? Law enforcement response included local, state, and federal officers, but Arredondo and former school district police officer Adrian Gonzalez are the only two to face criminal charges because they were the leaders and they chose to not act when they were supposed to act. And they were the incident commanders. Arredondo was the incident commander. He got there. He's one of the first people to get there within the first 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I think 3 or 4 minutes. And by the way, that's a normal response. That's a fast response time, which is why you got to have armed teachers in that building and armed staff members. Continuing, the indictment against Arredondo and the former disgraced chief of the Uvalde City Police also. Those are the two only ones to face criminal charges. Both face multiple counts of child endangerment and abandonment and have pleaded not guilty. They're going to get convicted. I pray that they will. You never know, but I believe they're going to, and they need to go to jail, and they should be convicted. When they're convicted, they can never be a peace officer, as far as I'm concerned. I believe that would happen, but I don't know. The indictment contends that he did not follow his own active shooter training and plan. I added plan in there, and made critical decisions that slowed the police response while the gunman was hunting victims. Literally, quote, hunting victims. So what happened was Satan was in that room, and Chief Arredondo and and Chief Gonzalez allowed Satan to find as many living children in that room and teachers in that room as he could to have his way with the kids. And that's what happened. Now, this is huge. Who are the people protesting the cops? The Trump authorities that he has surged in D.C. The people that are protesting, for the most part, are white elite liberals who do not live in the 3 out of 4 quadrants of the city that are high homicide, high violence rates. They either live in the northwest quadrant or they live outside of the northwest quadrant. Okay, in like Maryland, Bethesda, Arlington, maybe. And so, here's one of your elite white liberals in the district who is angry at what Trump's doing. He assaults a federal officer with a sandwich. A sandwich. There he is. He is holding said sandwich. You see him there with a sandwich on the left hand. Moments later, he would take the left hand of his sandwich, hand it to the right hand, and then whip it at the cop, striking him or hitting the cop with it on the right hand side of his upper torso. And so what happened is he ran like a coward. And the cops, ICE, and Border Patrol agents, which is who these people are, chased him down. And guess who came out swinging and did a great job saying, "You're prosecuted, white elitist, with your sandwich assault on a federal officer."
So President Trump has vowed to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. And as part of his effort to fight crime, he's bringing in our federal law enforcement partners like FBI, ATF, DEA, or Park Police, everybody to help the Metropolitan PD fight crime.
This is Judge Jeanine Perot, who is now, of course, D.C. U.S. Attorney for the District of D.C., Jeanine Perot.
And the president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
That's why I love her. That is absolutely why I love her. Somebody said in their commentary today that they're not a big fan of her commentary on Fox News when she's on there, but she's perfect at this job. I loved her commentary at Fox News, and I love this commentary here as the U.S. Attorney for the District of D.C., District of Columbia, I should say. Now, the man who assaulted the federal officer, the Border Patrol agent, with a sandwich, Sean Charles Dunn, has been prosecuted. You can see him running there like a coward. It's so funny. He thinks he can outrun them, and they just tag him and bag him, and I'm so happy. He then ran away and with a trail of federal officers chasing him, reports Fox News. After being arrested and taken to the police station, Dunn allegedly told another officer, "I did it. I threw a sandwich." He's charged with felony assault on a law enforcement officer. I think that could get him 10 years. I don't know, but if the J6ers who did some violence got 10 years, this guy should at least get 10 years. Okay. Also, this is great. An anti-MAGA Twitter account out of DC, a local Twitter account out of DC that hates Trump, which is basically everybody that's in DC, um, it focuses on DC issues, tweeted out, "Hey, DC, let's push back against the negative narrative about our city." Here's the replies they got. "I've been held up at gunpoint, had my car broken into 3 times. I had my bike stolen. My credit card has been skimmed too many times to count. I can't send my kids to public school here because they're a joke," says a children's book author based in the DC area. Another says, "My car was broken into. One friend had a stolen car in front of his place. Another was carjacked at gunpoint. I've had to assist somebody who was shot while I was just trying to drunkenly make my way home from a bar. F you. Thank God for new and law enforcement." He said F you to the guy. Another says, it was really cool when a guy headbutted me on the metro after I asked him to stop blasting music through his phone speakers. And then there was the time when a bum spat on me for no reason. Another says, recalling what recalled the quadruple shooting at King Street Oyster Bar 2024 last August. So this is less than a year ago, that killed 2 people. He wrote, "The DC chief of police blamed the restaurant for not being properly locked up on their patio that night." Now, look, here's what the DC Metropolitan Police Department released as a statement about it. They actually did say this. "Without preventative measures, the open patio contributed to the group establishing themselves and continue to grow, leading to gun violence." Gun commits the crime. Gun violence that resulted in 4 people being shot, 2 of whom are deceased, and significant property damage. It's because the patio was still open. It wasn't closed out. That's why they're dead. We need patio control, right? Not gun control. We need patio control and then gun control. Okay. Here is an MSNBC legal and justice affairs correspondent actually telling the truth about DC.
And I live in Washington. This is personal for me. Many people are frustrated with crime that we see, particularly committed by juveniles in the city of Washington. People are frustrated, Willie, that when they go to CVS to buy deodorant, that they have to get it from behind locked plexiglass, right? But the response here, and let me say this, right? These are not just random anecdotes. What we see in Washington Post polling, among others, is that roughly half of DC residents, mostly half of DC residents, view this as a serious problem or an extremely serious problem.
And don't tell Mayor Muriel Bowser this, but last year she asked for the National Guard to be called in. Last year.
Access to firearms is a national problem, and we need common sense gun reform. We also need this Congress to give the mayor control of the DC National Guard. We welcome your partnerships or non-public safety initiatives as well.
That was under Joe Biden, who, well, of course, we all know wasn't really home, but there it was. Okay, let's shift gears to the illegal migrants, or as NBC5 in Dallas Fort Worth reporter Shannon Miller calls them, immigrants. Illegals, she says hundreds of immigrants are in the Tarrant County Jail. What she means to say is illegal immigrants, but Shannon Miller at NBC5 doesn't distinguish between people who spend 10 years and spend all this money or 20 years to become a citizen and do it the right way as somebody who spent $5,000 to get smuggled over a border and is an illegal from Biden that came here a year or 2 ago. She sees no difference in them. Well, Shannon, you're a bad reporter because you don't report the truth. You report falsehoods. Hundreds of illegal immigrants are in the Tarrant County Jail every day. There are 400 illegals right now being held by ICE from 22 countries, including the 2 Venezuelans who were arrested for, remember that beautiful young lady we talked about, Ava Moore, who was a paddle boater on Grapevine Lake, who came home from the Air Force Academy in Colorado, was about to go to basic training. this beautiful sweetheart who had a massive future ahead of her, was going to be a general. Ava Moore was killed by an illegal on a jet ski, according to the authorities, that ran her over and killed her, and then she tried to run, and then her illegal friend or boyfriend, they ran, and people trying to grab him. They ran, and they got into his car. They absconded. He hit other cars, and eventually, I think his car was stalled or got damaged so badly it couldn't go, and he ran. Something of that nature. They're sitting in that jail too. Those sick jerks. That's a nice way of saying how I feel. Also, this is from Senate Bill 8. 11, at least, we have 11 sheriff's entities that are now cooperating in North Texas. Oh, by the way, Keller. Keller is the first municipality in North Texas, according to NBC5, to actually already have 287G, where their officers are deputized to work with ICE and to find out if an illegal on the streets is theirs. They interdict them, which is so awesome. Congratulations to Keller. I'd love to be in that town. Now, the law eventually will require. Right now, there's 11 North Texas outfits, which I believe include or are counties that are doing 287G. That's where some deputies are deputized by ICE. They have the ICE system, computer system. They can run somebody's info into the system and know if they're an illegal or not, like that, as they're checked into the jail. That way, we get them deported. Period. And they are deported from within the jail, so that they already have been screened. There's no weapons. It's safe. They go from cuffs to officer inside of that jail. It's the safest way to do it. Unlike with the sanctuary cities and states where ICE has to hunt them down. And of course, when they hunt them down in the community, it's a lot less safe. And any illegal who's with them gets cuffed and stuff too, regardless of whether it's an abuela or a niño. That's illegal. The law eventually will require, Senate Bill 8 will eventually require every local sheriff's office that operates a jail in the state of Texas. And that's what I voted for. What else do I have for you? Oh, this is great. City of Fort Worth. This is from the Fort Worth Report, fortworthreport.org. 5 city council members. It says Fort Worth partnership with ICE not imminent, council members say. And you've got the woke leftist ones on the city council, like Chris Nettles. He says, as the only black man on the council and as a pastor and activist, he says he feels a moral obligation to stand with the black and brown residents. So you don't stand with Asian illegals? So you don't stand with white illegals like the 56 Irish men and women that Trump just deported, 56 of them? You don't stand with the white illegals and the Asian illegals or the illegals from Azerbaijan, etc. I see. I see. And by the way, as a pastor, if you follow God's word, the Bible, it says, number one, God loves boundaries. God ordains boundaries. God says, don't move the boundaries. Second of all, God says, I put the government in charge for a reason. If you violate the laws of the land and the government that I put in place, you have every reason to fear. And if you don't violate the laws of the land, you have no reason to fear. And because you're obeying the laws of the land, you're obeying the government that I put in charge, whether it's a good government or not. And in this case, it's a good government. And so this pastor needs to go back to just go read the Bible. Now, also in the 2020 Census Bureau report, the U.S. Census Bureau, this is what we have to. This is how many illegals are in Fort Worth. Ready? They break it down here. They say that the residents of Fort Worth, we got about 171,000 are foreign-born, but of those, 106,000 are illegals. It is believed we have 106,000 illegals in the city of Fort Worth. Just so you know, very fascinating. Find out those hardcore numbers. Oh, this is so great. Zorhan Mandami, the left's baby, he's going to do great for us. Beto Hussein O'Rourke was humping his leg in an interview today as well, which is great. Beto has people say he's a 2-time loser. He's a 3-time loser. What's his name? Sean Hannity said tonight that he's a 2-time loser. He's a 3-time loser. He lost once in the Senate race against Cruz. He lost the second time running for president. He lost the third time, which I'd totally forgotten about. Ran for governor and lost. It's a threefer. I want him to do a 4-peat. Come on, baby. Come on. You can do it. Anyways, Zorhan wants the government grocery stores. Well, you know about the Kansas City one nonetheless, but here today from the National Review. The city-owned grocery store that collapsed and failed and should just shut down They spent more than 18 million city dollars for one grocery store. And how did it work out after 7 years? Months of bare shelves, severe crime problems, what one reporter described as a rancid odor connected to an improper drain maintenance. Quote, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances beyond our control, we are no longer at this time able to serve residents of this important community. A sign on the front door of Sunfresh says, despite cash subsidies from the city, Sunfresh, the National Review says, has struggled to break even, likely because of steep costs of maintaining security presence at the store. Maybe that's why you have a food desert, which there's no such thing as a food desert. Police frequently field reports at this grocery store that just shut down, city owned, of fighting, drug use, public sex, and 2 managers quit last year over hazardous working conditions. The store's assistant manager, Adriana Renti, said in an August meeting, which is, of course, this month, that on one occasion, a Kansas City police officer declined to intervene with a Sunfresh customer accused of theft because the officer was busy responding to another customer wielding a machete. What's not to like about this? This is going to come to New York City. It's going to suck for them, but it's going to be great for the Republicans. It's going to suck for the people there. But, if they're stupid enough to vote this in and they are elite, well off, making it, 6 digits and way beyond, white elitist liberals in the city that are putting this guy in. The heavy minority and working class communities are not putting this guy in because they know. By the way, speaking of Zorhan and all of his folks and Beto and all these leftist loons and Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, you want to have a beer? Let's have a beer. What percentage of people were triggered by the Sydney Sweeney ad? This brand new Economist YouGov poll, 12% were triggered. 12% said they considered it offensive. Are you the 12%? Come on, who's with me? Who's the 12%? Who's with me now? Come on. Are you with me? Come on now. So there you have it. 39% said it's clever. So almost 4 times as many said it was clever as 12% said it was offensive. 40% said neither, so whatever. And then 8% were unsure. So literally 48% were like, eh. The rest were overwhelmingly calling it clever. And Trump, of course, reminded us in a tweet the other day, Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican. She has not refuted that because she is. And that's awesome.